Hello guys, welcome. There is a particular virtue that we emphasize a lot in our days, which is focus. We've heard parents telling their children, you have to be focused. We've heard teachers saying to their students, you have to be focused. We've heard the elders speaking to the youth and saying that the youth needs to be focused. And everyone is conversing about the subject of focus, but not really analyzing the object of focus. And when you think about it, it looks like everyone thinks that they are focused in the things that they are doing. But is it possible that even in a state of being focused, we may be focused on the wrong thing? And if it's possible to be focused on the wrong thing, is it possible to have focused distractions? So that's going to be our discussion today. Focused distractions. All right, guys, welcome back. Today we have my very own special and lovely wife, the one and only Mrs. Jasmine Harrison.
The bone of your bone.
And it's a lot of fun having you do this with me. And I hope you have some fun too.
Thank you for inviting me.
I will try to make sure that it's not a waste of your time. All right. So, like I said in the introduction, the goal of this is to look very closely on the concept and the subject of focus and distraction. And the hope here is to build this thing block by block. We're going to try to do this in one episode. If it's not possible, we will spill over into the next. So I want us to look at the concept of focus, because everyone is saying that we all need to be focused. And it looks like everyone is truly convinced that they are focused in the things that they're doing. So let us begin to analyze and dissect to see what are the things that makes the component first of focus, what are the things that makes the component of distraction. Then we bring them and see if there's anything that links both of them together. One of the strongest ingredients of focus, in my opinion, is necessity. What is needed? What is necessary? Because if we don't analyze the subject of necessities, then we can't justify the subject of focus.
True.
Because I could be in a state of focus, but not focused in what is necessary. Okay? And many times, our perception of what is necessary does not actually bring us anywhere to the sphere of what is truly necessary.
This is true.
That we think is necessary doesn't make it necessary. That we think something is important doesn't make it important. There is a mix-up between the things that we want and the things that we need. And many times it seems okay rather, to rework your mind, to begin to classify what is wanted as what is needed. In fact, this is the scary part, babe, is that sometimes we even work our minds to merge what is expected as what is needed. The things that we expect certain times are not needed. The things that we want certain times are not needed. The things that we desire certain times are not needed. The things that we are focused on many times are not needed. So let me show you something I wrote down here. I said that true necessities are not defined by perceptions. And true necessities do not consult with our convenience. And the things that we are using to mold our belief system today is perception and convenience. So A man decides that it's okay to dress in a certain way because of his perception of what a man should dress like, or because of his convenience. And then he says that is what is necessary. A woman wants to relocate to London, and she has a perception that my life will be better in London. And then she looks at the prospects of convenience while in London. But it's possible that the call of necessity is pulling her to Ibadan. Okay? So, but true necessities do not consult with our perception. In the real sense and scheme of things, our perceptions should consult with necessities. Our conveniences should be birthed from our responses to necessities. However tedious it is to respond to necessities, in the long run, necessities will give birth to convenience.
You're using a lot of big words.
Simple words, maybe many times. Yes.
So it's all mumbled up in my head. And I know that there might be one or two people. I think if you can go through that again,
So,
just simplify.
when you need to respond to something that you need, many times it's not convenient.
True.
When you need to exercise, when you need to eat right,
Yes.
when you need to sleep, when you need to express love, when you need to say thank you, when you need to say I'm sorry, many times it is painful in the moment. But if what you are responding to is a need or a necessity, in the long run, in the long term, necessities and needs will eventually give birth to convenience.
Wow.
Even when it is hard to say I'm sorry to you now, if I respond to that need and say I'm sorry to you now, in 3 months' time, I will reap convenience from my painful response to the need 3 months ago.
True.
But I can't respond to a need by first checking with convenience. You see that now? I can't respond to a need by first checking my perception of it. How does it look when I tell her sorry? You see that now?
Yes.
Okay, so I may need to tell her sorry first.
And it will be inconvenient to me.
And I need to allow my perception consult with necessity.
Yes.
What is needed doesn't consult with how you see it. How you see it should first consult with what is needed. But we have a generation that has so many perceptions.
Yes.
Everybody has a point of view. And we are now beginning to try to dilute standard forms that has been here through ancient times. And many times in this discussion, what I want to look at now is not even necessity from ancient times. It's necessity for future possibilities. I want us to look at necessity, not from the way that our fathers described it. Okay? Because what is necessary 10 years ago may not be necessary now.
True.
Okay? But it doesn't change the concept of necessities. The object of necessities may differ.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean
But
that
the concept never changes.
at every point in your life, what is needed is what is needed. Even though what is needed today may not have been needed 20 years ago. I'll give you a good example. There was a time in our lives that having a kerosene lamp was luxury.
True.
Okay? Just having a kerosene lamp was luxury. Having a candle was luxury. People didn't think about buying generators when there was no light. They thought about buying kerosene lamps or buying candles. You know what I'm saying? At that time, there was a time that it was only the well-doing people that had.
Kerosene
then
lamps.
it was a necessity to have a kerosene lamp. Today, it's an eyesore.
True.
Okay? So I want us to look at the subject of what is necessary in this conversation of focus as it relates to our future.
So based on this, your example now, let me try to dilute it. So light will always be necessary,
Yes.
but the source of light has changed.
Can differ. Okay?
Okay.
And many times, there are certain ways that you will try to get light now that may be detrimental to where you're headed tomorrow.
True.
So if light is the pursuit, is what we are trying to achieve, there are many ways to get light. Even the lantern is also a way to get light. But there are certain things that we will do now to embrace a reality that may have negative consequences on our future. There are many ways to make money, even if money is a need. Right? So how we respond to necessities is very critical.
True.
Even if we are trying to locate what is necessary. And then if it's truly a need has a correlation with seasons. I will need an umbrella every year, but not every month of the year.
Only when it's raining.
You know what I'm saying, right? So when you want to start talking about focus, the focus must have its origin in first what is necessary. That's the first point I want us to have here.
Yes, sir.
This whole conversation about necessities is to say that the bedrock upon which focus should sit is what is necessary. And you don't just derive what is necessary from your current desire or your current posture, but on a requirement from your future. To really define necessities, you can't define necessity just by what is happening in your life now. True necessities derive the fabric of their nature from something that is required in your future. True needs are more future-based. They are not past-based, even if they have a reference to the past. They are not present-based. Many of them, the reason why you take so much time to correct our children, it's not because it's the most convenient thing for either you or the children. Probably they will hug you more if you correct them less.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is true.
All right? But it's for a reason that outweighs the present.
Very true.
And you're not correcting them because of how your mother corrected you. You know, my mother used to beat me every day, so I will beat you now. No. You correct the children because of how it impacts on their future, even the future that they cannot see. So when we think about focus must derive its footing in what is needed. And this generation are beginning to lose the borderlines around necessities, and it's now being confused with vision, passion, desire, I have a dream, you know, all manner of motivational concepts are beginning to give an illusion of what we truly need. Many times, like we said in one of our episodes, people derive their needs from the realities in somebody else's life. Because something is working in your life, I think that I've got to have it.
Yes.
And it has no bearing with where I'm going. It looks good on you, doesn't mean that I need it in my life. Okay? So that's the first thing here, to look at what is necessary. So when we want to focus or prescribe focus, we must first make reference to what is necessary. So that's number one thing. Number two thing here I want to raise is, what is focus? So what I wrote here is this. Focus is to concentrate attention on something. When you concentrate on a particular thing, or when the center of interest is on a particular thing, then we call it focus. Am I correct?
Yes.
Is that why I had English again?
No.
Okay. So focus is basically when
you zenning into one thing.
One thing. That is focus. I'm trying to say this over and over again because we're going somewhere with it.
Okay.
So focus, again, is when you have your center of interest on a particular thing.
You're about to turn this around.
So let me ask you a question. If our first son, Ken, for example, needs to write an exam, and he reads for 5 hours, but decides to watch a movie for 20 minutes,
yes,
is he distracted?
No, he's resting.
Okay?
Yeah.
So in a way, oh my God, that 20 minutes he's invested in watching that movie is actually part of enhancing his focus.
True.
Because even when he has invested 5 hours into reading, he needs to take a break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that break time is part of the ingredients required to help him achieve the ultimate goal of reading.
Yes.
Because if he kept reading for 20 hours, probably he will break down.
Yeah. You'll burn out.
He'll burn out.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to take a break. And he can decide what to do with the break.
True.
Either he takes a cup of Coke or take, time to watch a movie,
Yes,
or
take a
play with his
walk.
siblings or
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
So whatever he does in that 20 minutes, we don't call it distraction.
This is true.
But if he needs to read for 5 hours, but he uses that 5 hours to watch a movie and uses 20 minutes to read, what do we call that?
Distraction.
So now, the two activities remain.
Yes.
He has read, he has watched a movie. In the first scenario, he read for 5 hours
The length of time was
and watched a
different.
movie for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
So we say that he wasn't distracted.
Mm-hmm.
He was focused on reading.
Mm-hmm.
But if he reads for 20 minutes and watches a movie for 5 hours,
We say he's
you
distracted.
say he's distracted. Now, the reason why you think he's distracted is because you think something is preventing him
From focusing on the reading.
from focusing on the reading. So, a distraction is something that prevents you from the center of interest. You know that focus is is center of
I need
interest.
to clutch my pillow at this point.
Yes,
It's
your
getting
mic, your
juicy.
mic, your
Oh,
mic.
sorry.
Okay, good. So, distraction is something that prevents you
Yes.
from your center of interest.
Yes.
Focus is your center of interest on something, but distraction is something that prevents you from your center of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Distraction also is anything that takes your attention away
From your
from
center of focus.
the center of focus or center of interest. But can we say that at the time that a child is watching the movie for 5 hours and reading for 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
he still has a center of interest?
We can actually say that. It's just not the interest we want him to be interested in.
So even when he's watching a movie for 5 hours and reading for 20 minutes, he is not void of a center of interest. There is a center of interest. It's just not on a necessity. That is the difference. So, if at the time he devotes his time to what we think is distraction, there is still a center of interest. It means that at the point that he was distracted, he had a focus. Because there is a center of interest at the point that he is watching a movie when he should be reading. Many of our lives are not void of center of interest. That's why I'm a little bit worried when we keep saying, you must be focused. You must be focused. Everybody actually is focused. If you find out beyond the surface, everyone has a center of interest. The real question is not if we have centers of interest, because that's focus. Once you have a center of interest, long enough, that's focus. And almost every one of us have a center. It's actually almost impossible to find a person who doesn't have a center of interest. So that means it's almost impossible to find someone who doesn't have focus. But the real question is that, are they investing their center of interest in a necessity that is fueling a destiny future? If the child who is watching a movie for 5 hours and reading for 20 minutes has a center of interest, it means that, is it possible to say that distraction in its right is a type of focus.
Nobody wants to hear that. But it's true.
Distraction is a form, a category. It's a type of focus. When you are distracted, you actually focus. Just like you are focused on the wrong thing. When you are distracted, you have a center of interest. And you know that distraction comes in many forms. For example, distraction can prevent you from your... let's take the two different words for what they really are. So, focus now is center of interest in a necessity. Distraction is center of interest in what is not necessary. So let me show you something here. One of the things I wrote down here is that distraction derives its reality from undermining a necessity. Distraction derives its reality from undermining a necessity. However, distraction has a form that looks like focus. The only thing that really separates distraction from focus is necessity. And the way that distraction achieves that is undermining necessity. So when distraction tries to prevent you from your center of interest in the sense of focus, sometimes it comes like trying to, this is your viewing at something and it comes and stands in front of you. So at the point it stands in front of you, it's preventing your vision
from seeing what you're supposed to
see. So distraction will either try to come and stand in front of you. Many times, life will throw at you distractions. In life, distractions usually are the types that come to stand in front of you to block your visual link with what is your center of interest. All right? But so when life does this to you and is blocking your visual link, you can move to the right or to the left. Or maybe if you are forceful enough, you kick the item out of the way. That's one way to combat distraction. Because many times the distraction is not from inside, it's from outside. Life will throw at you. Maybe you're doing very well until, your father becomes sick. And you didn't plan for nobody plans and says that next month, February, I want my father to be sick. Next month, November, I want my mother to be sick. Nobody plans for that. So life can throw at you distraction. And in that sense, distraction comes to prevent your center of interest. So it stands in front of you. There's another form of distraction that comes. This is the most dangerous one. It comes to shift your attention. Yes, I'm giving you dictionary definitions of distraction. One says that it alters your attention. One says it prevents your attention. You see that now? There are two different, they're strong words. When it prevents your attention, it blocks. It blocks. So sometimes you can't fight it. This thing will never move away. Some issue that comes to distract you will never move away.
Yes.
So you move around it.
Wow.
You move to the left, move to the right. It doesn't matter. Just move around it. It may never move away and move beyond it. Somebody breaks your heart, it may never move away. You just stay with it for a lifetime, or you move beyond it and move on to your life. Somebody steals from you. It can be a distraction. You are doing so well in your business, somebody steals from you, and then it can remain a distraction for 20 years. And you keep mourning the 20 million that you lost to a friend. It stays in front of you to prevent your focus on what is necessary. Or you move around it and you progress. So that is one type of distraction that prevents. The other type is alters or moves your attention away. That's the dangerous one. So the moment something has the potency to create a grip on your attention, when it gets that grip on your attention, it can now shift it. That is the one that I want us to talk about.
I want to talk about that one.
Because many times, the things that are killing good people
is this kind of distraction.
Because the things that usually move your head away like this are usually good things. Wow. They are important things, but they're not needed. They can wait or they can be delegated. You have a good idea and you say, oh my God, this idea, you drop from heaven like this. You drop like this. And
so like this. Good.
So good. I must start it tomorrow. Meanwhile, if you had waited long enough, that idea had a date on it. The date is 8 years' time. 8 years' time. And I can give you example in scriptures of people that were ordained to be king but had to wait for many years to be king. There was nothing they could have done in the time to be king at the point that they were anointed. So it may come, but it has to wait. So the thing that shifts us many times from the future that we must have, they are good things. In one of the episodes we talked about the fact that anything has the potential to become a distraction. Anything. Your wife can become a distraction. You may have a duty to your mom, to your father, to your work, and then your wife, who is someone that you need in your life, and that's good in your life, can become the reason why you have cut everybody off. You see that now? And
yes.
you say, but she's my wife, he's my husband. However, good things can become distractions. So one of the things I wrote here is this: the most subtle distraction is good over right, and busy over growth, and actions over work. You see, the two sides of everything I've just read are all good. There's nothing wrong with being busy, but it's better to grow. There's nothing wrong with actions. We preach actions, but it's better to work. Because action doesn't necessarily mean there's a productive output. Work is effort with productive output. That's why we say the TV is not working. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's doing something, he's acting. But it's not working. In the words of Ghanaian, it's not working.
It's not working.
Okay? So work is effort with productive output. So you may be acting, doesn't mean that you are working. You may be busy, doesn't mean you are growing. You may be doing something good, doesn't mean you're doing something right. So before we begin to dig deeper here, let me make a reference to a story. There's a story in the Bible. It's about Mary and Martha. Jesus comes to visit, and because they had such a prestigious guest, Martha, I beg your pardon, had to make arrangements to ensure that everything
host this dignified guest.
And then while she was doing that, her sister Mary sat down with Jesus in fellowship. And Martha came with a feedback. We live in a generation of feedbacks. Companies want feedbacks. Everybody has an opinion. People want to say certain things. So Martha came to Jesus, their guest, with a feedback. She said to Jesus, "Doesn't it bother you?" Man of God. I know you're a man of principle. Are you not bothered by the fact that my sister has blatantly refused to help me in setting up dinner for you?
I can just imagine what she expected Jesus to say.
And I sympathize with Martha. I truly empathize with Martha. But I feel that so I want to read that story to you, and I just feel that maybe the writer of this in scriptures probably was unfair to Martha.
Yes.
But hear what it says. I think somewhere Luke 10 and verse 40. But Martha was distracted. They use the word there. This NIV, so it's not. I'm not the one putting these things in here. Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. So there are three things in this sentence that really gives me a lot of trouble. Number one, it began by saying that Martha was distracted. Number two, she was distracted in a preparation. Not an irrelevant preparation for the ceremony. You see, that preparation had to be made.
Wow.
But if it was a preparation,
why is it now a distraction?
Why you call it a distraction? And then it's not just a preparation, it's a preparation that had to be made. It had to be made. And that's what Martha is trying to have you guys understand. This preparation has to be made. However, the perception of that commitment, that center of interest, is that it was a distraction. Now, when she came and reported the matter to Jesus, she came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. And this is what Jesus responds. You know, when Oga calls you twice, there's a problem. He said, Martha.
How many times that come?
All right. You are worried and upset about many things. You are worried. Now, first of all, they began by describing her center of interest. And it established that the center of interest had to be done. The preparation had to be done. But he said, Martha, why are you worried and upset about many things? In this sentence, there are three categories of distraction. Categories of distraction that you will see as symptoms to affirm sometimes the presence of a distraction. Number one, there will be worries. When you begin to worry too much, it's possible that you are focusing on the wrong thing. I said to a friend of mine, that what you focus on amplifies. So if you focus on something that stirs you worry all the time, there's a 99% chance that you are focusing on a distraction. So one of the characteristics, one of the nature, one of the expressions, one of the symptoms of distraction is worry.
I need a pen and a paper.
So you are worried, and then number two is upset, provocation, bitterness. But the one I want to touch more here is about many things. The life of a distracted person has many things that are moving. There is a sense, so let me show you something that I wrote down here. Distraction gravitates towards volume, but focus aligns with few. That craving to be embracing so many things all at the same time provokes the tendency for distraction. Martha, you are worried and upset about many things. Many things is never the way to go. Even if you are involved in many things, you mustn't be devoted to many things at the same time. And I'll come to something here now, but see the response, see the prescription. But few things are needed. What are you saying there now? Need. Few things
are needed.
Listen, justify it all you want, but in the matters of destiny, few things are needed. In the matters of a fruitful home, few things are needed. In the matter of a productive business, few things are needed. In the matters of raising godly and profitable children, few things are needed. All these ones you are running around.
Distraction.
If you can find the few things and put your center of interest there, you can unlock any kind of future.
Wow.
And he said, and Mary has chosen what is better. This is the last line. And it will not be taken away from her. So I think our previous episodes, we dug deep into the subject of stay with what stays. And that's one of the words that got inspired in my spirit early this year. Stay with what stays. Because many times we are staying with something that will not stay. Because there's a virtue in staying.
Yes, sir.
Because this generation lacks the staying power. We don't know how to stay. We just jump. So first of all, develop the culture to stay. When you develop the culture to stay, you must now learn the culture of staying with things that stay. Because many of us are staying with things that won't stay. We are staying with things that won't last. When you stay in the place of focus, we are hearing here that Mary chose the best part because it will not be taken away from her. What she has chosen will stay. Then that takes me back to Martha's side of the story. Martha was distracted by the preparation that had to be done. So, Apeh, how are you saying all this English when we know that the thing that Martha was doing had to be done? Yes, but there was no timeline to what had to be done. What Martha had to do in the preparation could have been done later. We know that what Martha was doing had to be done. It was a good thing. So, number one, it's possible that what Martha was doing could have been done later. What he could be saying to Martha is that, why don't you sit down with me first?
Sit down with me first.
Spend time with me first.
This is what's important.
I came to see you now. I journeyed how many miles trekking? I came to see you. Sit down with me first. This food you are cooking, we'll do it later now. So even though it had to be done, it could have been done later. Number two possibility is that what Martha was doing that had to be done could have been done by someone else. Many things that we are choking ourselves with are things that we could have delegated. Many things that we are choking our lives with are things that we have people in our lives that are willing to do them, that we have refused for them to do them.
Why don't you just put my name on this part?
You know what I'm saying? And then we are living, like he said,
Yes.
the best part or the better part. The part that will not be taken away.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
There are parts that will be taken away, even if it has to be done. And this is where we find ourselves in this generation. People who are devoted to things that seem apparent, like they have to be done. They have this drive, this thing has to be done. It has to be done. It has to be done. And they are living and breeding distractions. Meanwhile, there are few things that are the better part. Few things that are the best part that we are not investing ourselves into. We have our set of interests directed to something that isn't giving us maximum results. It looks like it's good, but it's not right. And we are undermining possibilities of our future, of our loved ones, of what we can do, what we can become, where we can arrive at, because we're investing so much time in a distraction. And this distraction didn't look like distraction because we thought we were focused. And we didn't realize that distraction in itself is a type of focus. So we are focused, but we didn't ask what kind of focus do we have. Could it be a distraction? Because distraction in itself has a center of interest. If it's truly a distraction, if you're driving a car and you turn for a second to your left or to your right, we don't call you a distracted driver, even though you're driving and you just turn like this. Or if you're driving and you keep your face here,
They say, why are you distracted?
now you're distracted because there's a set of interest that takes you away from where you're driving to. So distraction has a center of interest. Focus has a center of interest. So distraction is a type of focus. So many of us, what we have is simply a focused distraction. I rest my case.
God. Amazing.
So I'll let you say something again.
No, this. If I say anything now, I'm going to get really emotional because I was already. Because this is. It's truly. No.
So, guys, this is something that we need to look at very closely.
No.
Because many of us have invested our lives with a strong set of interest. However, the set of interest that we have is in a distraction. It's not in the sense of focus that we think it is. Whatever you're producing, however large it seems at the moment, you may be having a big harvest, but it may still be a wrong harvest. That what you're doing is looking like, like Martha, everything looks like the food is coming together, everything is looking well. You may have some kind of result, but you may be breeding the result in the wrong places. And the true test of those things is in 10 years' time. That's why we began by saying that true necessities derives its merit from the future. For today, we look okay, but in this story we just heard, the person who is speaking knows the end
Future.
from the beginning. So he's saying that
What's needed?
what is needed are few, but you are worried about too many things. You are distracted about pressing issues, not necessarily needed issues. All right? So guys, I think that it's okay. We've shot our time by almost 20 minutes. Let's try to keep this within one episode. And we'd love to hear your questions. Do feel free to send us questions, and we'd love to respond to that. We want to trust God to have a session where we just deal with difficult questions. Okay? We want to have a session called Difficult Questions, Difficult Answers. Okay? So we love you guys. See you on the next one.